So what happened after I built a fully done for you marketing and automation business purely on referrals? Stop getting referrals. What happens after the referrals dry up and you have no more clients? You cry and you reflect, honey. That's all I can do. Today, I want to be transparent. I am showing up podcast style because I didn't want to get caught up in the lights, the camera, the background, the editing, all of that. I wanted to make sure that this message was pure and clear. Um, 2020, I was able to transition my coaching business and consulting business into a fully done for you, white glove, done for you agency purely on referrals. And so from 2020 to 2025, I had a referral based business. That was the business model. And y'all, I ain't gonna lie, that was a testament to me. I'm very proud of that because that gives testament to the work that I do and that people trust my work, the level of support that I provide to share me with other people. I do not take referrals for granted. But I started to notice maybe 2024, definitely 2024, but starting around 2023 that there was a shift in the market. And as a marketer and as a woman of God with full discernment, I didn't really know what was going on. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I could just feel it. And I couldn't articulate it. And if you know, like I do, when it comes to discernment, discernment is knowing something without proof. Okay. So I can tell you, hey, something is not working, something isn't right. There is a shift, but I don't have proof. And so all I could do was just kind of watch things unfold so that I could see what was going on. And it wasn't just in, because I built through referrals, of course, obviously my referrals were slowing down, but I still had clients. They just weren't coming in. I didn't have a wait list like I used to. And then the gaps in between referrals start to happen. But then not just there was a shift in my business, but I'm also starting to notice a shift in my client's business. The things that we were doing before, the market wasn't responding like they used to. If my client went live, they weren't getting 50, 60 people on a live. They're getting half. And then it started to dwindle to half of that. And I try not to be a person who takes into consideration what's going on outside of the marketplace, but we have to understand that sometimes when things are going on outside of normal business, it can affect business, right? So as we know, 2024 was an election year and people not knowing what was going to happen. And people are affected by that kind of unsaid pressure. People not knowing if their jobs are secure. People are not knowing how their businesses are going to go. And it was a big hit, especially when the fund went away. That was being sued for Black women to get funding for business. They, completely eradicated, and that put a dent in a lot of people's hopes, dreams, aspirations, and it affected whether it actually affected you personally or financially. It still affected some of us mentally and our morals. So, 2024, especially the back end of 2024, all referrals were done. They were done, and I'm going to be very honest. For 5 years, I did not have to market my business, y'all. I was still online, I would still do things like that, but it wasn't with the intention of getting the next client because I didn't have to. And I can play this, hindsight is 20, it's 2020. I can play this game. If I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I'm not. right? Because it is what it is. And towards the end of 2024, I had to have a very serious conversation with myself. And that decision, a lot of tears, a lot of processing anger and resentment and frustration and working through feelings of failure. I had to process that because your girl had to go back to the workforce, not because she wanted to, but my bills do not care. Rent does not care. And I had gone through all my savings. So at this point it was a wrap. There was no money. And I am a responsible adult. And sometimes you have to make decisions that seems like two steps back. And it feels uncomfortable. And yes, I threw tantrums. I threw I threw pity parties. Every kind of party you could think of, I threw it. But I still pushed out those those applications and resumes. Okay. And so by the grace of God, me processing that and me trusting the Lord in the process, in less than a month, I had a full-time job, fully remote, because I was fully prepared to physically get to a in-person job. But the Lord blessed me with a remote job. So I didn't have to leave the house. Fantastic. Okay. Especially since I stopped being a car owner 2 years ago and I sold my car. Um, so I was just like, oh gosh, am I gonna have to go buy a car? Am I gonna have to now I gotta pay insurance again? Blah, 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 blah. Right. And God was like, nope, just stay at home. And I was like, thanks. But now it's 2025 and more emotions are coming up because what I didn't realize was that now I have to process getting used to having consistent income again. I hadn't been an employee in years. And getting my nervous system regulated again, managing my time, trying to figure out what the workload is. So even though I am working remotely, that doesn't mean that I get to put my full-time job on the back burner. I'm an employee. So I still have to now maneuver my time where they're getting most of my time. My job is now my full-time and my business has gone back down to being part-time. And I had to figure out, how do I balance this? What does this look like? This is new. I'm learning new skills. And it was, it took a while. And I was still trying to go very hard on my marketing, um at the same time, and visibility, and I'm writing, and I'm doing live streams, and I'm doing collaborations, and I'm doing all the things, but guess what? No one cares. No one's paying attention. And so let me backtrack. I say no one cares, no one's paying attention, but that's not actually true. If you actually looked, I had super high engagement. I had all of these things, but it wasn't equating into dollars like the way I wanted to. I was getting more discovery calls than I had been getting in a year. So, yes, but it wasn't converting over. And so I had to pause yet again. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a month off and I'm just going to focus on my job. And that's what I did. And that actually turned into 2 months. Turned into two. But I am so happy that I did that. I'm so extremely happy that I did that because I was able to one, I got my nervous system under control, right? I had to catch up on some bills. So it was some personal things that I needed to catch up on because of slow income coming in 2024 and max and completely draining my savings. And so I had to catch up personally on some things. And I also had to go to God with some things. So again, bringing him my resentment, bringing him my anger, bringing him my frustration. Like, this is after 10 years, this is where I end up. So I had to bring that to him too. So it this was a journey, and I'm so glad that I had the tools though, because I w- I obviously paid for programs, had coaching, things like that. So in this time frame, I was actually able to go back and redo programs that I had purchased. Um that helped me with a lot of like healing and um transformation and getting to the root of a lot of things. Um and even some marketing programs and other things that I have paid for through the years, I just started becoming a student again and I started going through those things. And when I started doing that, when I started really letting God reveal to me what has happened for the last 10 years since, and if you didn't know, I have been an online entrepreneur for 10 years. And I've had, at this point, 3 businesses. My first one was a complete flop. And it used to be called Be Your Own Image. And I even have it tattooed on my arm. And it was a coaching business, but I was in the life coaching space. So confidence, things like that. It was a complete flop. And so I had to let that go. And I fell in love with marketing and automation, and so started another consulting business helping people with content creation and writing and being able to articulate what they're really trying to say, messaging, got into copywriting, all of that stuff, right? And I was writing blogs for people, and then that's when it kind of turned into a done for you. So I would say that's the third business. And so now that third business kind of fell apart again. So just coming to God and be like, what is this? Why? Right. So he really helped me process that and really get through that. And some really big things that he revealed to me this summer, because it's July 2025 at the time of this recording. This summer has been very eye opening for me because when I started my done for you business really started to take off in 2020, this was COVID. Right? Really, I started in 2019, so before COVID. But COVID happened. So we're talking 2020, 2021, when there was a surge of people coming into the marketplace looking for anything because people were unsure about their jobs, all these things. And they were running to the online space. So I made a lot of money and my clients were making a lot of money. Okay. And I was getting, referrals. And so I didn't have to market. And in 2023, I didn't have to market. 2024, again, this is when I started to be like, oh gosh, okay, something has changed. They're completely drying up. And now I have to go back onto these social media streets. Well, by then, social media had completely changed. 2020 social media is definitely not 2024 and 2025 social media. This is before TikTok. So short form content wasn't a thing. Um, Though people were live streaming, they weren't live streaming like they are now because everybody wants to be a streamer now. Like it's a different wild west. And so basically when I came in, I'm coming back into social media from a place of desperation. Cause baby, I gotta make money. I gotta pay these bills. Okay. Let me sell you some things. Let me build you a funnel. Let me do all of these things. Um, so it's desperate. And basically, which means it was transactional. I'm not really looking to be in relationship with you. I'm looking for my next client, my next cash infusion. You know what I'm saying? Because she got bills. So I came in doing what everybody else was doing. Came back to social media trying to do all the short form content. I'm trying to write a million posts. I'm trying to do the blogs. I'm trying to do the color block post. I'm trying to do the hooks. Everybody's talking about hooks and hooks and hooks. And this is stuff that I'm doing for my clients as well. And fast forward summer 2025, and God is revealing to me now that He has me sitting down, focusing on my job, taking a break. And He's like, Alicia, that's not how you do marketing for yourself. You are a teacher. It is not about, people have always been able to connect to me, not necessarily through my writing, but through my voice. So whether I'm on camera or off camera, it is my voice. I have to be heard. And the writing supplements and backs it up versus leading with my writing. That's always been my style. And you have to know what your style is. And it's so crazy that this is the stuff that I would tell my clients over and over and over and over again. And yet I wasn't doing it for myself. No brainer. No. Who can relate? So, the reason why I wanted to come on here and just kind of be transparent with my story is because I am sure there's a part of your story that relates to this. There's a part for you where you are sitting in a space where you're like, what the heck is going on? Why isn't it working the way it used to be? You're actually even looking at jobs. You're like, am I really gonna have to give this up? Am I really gonna have to go back to the workforce? I've been out of the workforce for 10 plus years, 5 plus years. Am I really gonna have to go back? I don't want to. And you're throwing all kind of pity parties. You're throwing all kind of tantrums. You're doing it because I did it, and you relate to that. But I want to encourage you by telling you, I don't know what God has planned for you. I don't know what your next step is going to be. But what I do know is you are getting ready to enter a new era because God has already started me on my new era. And that new era is rebuild. We're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from ground zero. We're not starting over. We are starting here. And I want to invite you, let's do it together. This is not about expert versus expert. I'm supposed to be, at a higher level than you, blah, 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 blah. Girl, don't nobody got time for that. You got a calling, you got a mission, you have an assignment. I have a calling, I have an assignment, I have a mission. And so if you need to rebuild, you can join me because I'm rebuilding. It is so much better to do this with like minded people than it is to try to do this by yourself. So I invite you on a ride. I invite you to enter this rebuild era, and we're going to do this. And so if you would like to join this era, walk into this era, I have some goodies for you. Check the link in the caption and come on in.